What's up, everyone? This is Ben from WODprep, and I am here with Dr. CJ DePalma, the owner of The Movement Doctor online. And then we have Coach Jesse Sheriff. He owns the Sheriff Academy. He's wearing the shirt right now. And these two are two of the best programmers that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Jesse has helped us make some of our personal coaching programs to help people improve things like, let's see, strict pull-ups, handstand push-ups, handstand walks, butterfly pull-ups. He's developed a lot of that programming for WODprep, and it has worked exceptionally well, especially for any of you who are watching that have taken those programs. You know what I'm talking about. And then Coach CJ recently has been coaching our highest level athletes. So we have lots of WODprep athletes who are games bound or right on the cusp of making it to the games, and CJ has actually started programming individually for these people. So today we are going to talk about how to figure out if individualized programming is right for you. When you start doing CrossFit, you're like, I need this right now. I'm a special snowflake, and I need someone to program specifically for me because I have all these special problems. Well, hopefully in this video, we're actually going to draw some conclusions so that you can decide whether or not it's worth getting individualized special attention with your programming, or if you're better off just following your normal gym's programming. So let's start with Coach CJ really quick. What is one situation where you think someone is a good candidate for individualized programming?
Someone who's been injured, struggling with injury, reoccurrent injury, something that's kind of long-standing, or just from like an acute trauma post-surgery, they still want to train CrossFit. I definitely think that's a really good situation, that someone who's more educated than just your CrossFit coach, or just your gym. Their background isn't quite as consistent as someone that has rehab training or the education. So I definitely think injury is a good reason to seek out some individualized programming.
Hypothetically, let's just do it off the cuff. If someone had a lot of elbow pain and they were struggling to do all kinds of different pulling movements, I know Jesse is actually, we were talking earlier, he has some elbow pain right now. How would you work with Jesse? If Jesse didn't know how to program for himself, how would you work with Jesse to work around that and still help him attain a high level of fitness?
Yeah, so the first thing we do is we find out what is causing our pain specifically. It's normally not all the movements, it's only some. So we find those movements that are causing us high levels of pain, and we modify those specifically. We still train around it. We still train our legs fully. We make sure that we're working as hard everywhere else as we can, because we're going to get carryover effects. It's called interregional dependence, meaning we train other parts of our body, and the parts that are injured get better faster. So with that, we find the symptomatic movements, modify them to where they're not as symptomatic, and we can use those movements instead of something that's limiting us. We then use those same movements of those modified patterns as our rehab protocols. And we do that with CrossFit style movements.
So let's move over to Jesse. Let's say hypothetically you're a master's athlete. We have lots of masters that follow WODprep and our protocols and programs. What makes a good master's program specifically? Why is it different than just a generalized program online?
First and foremost, actually has to be created for a master's athlete, so age specific. That demographic has different priorities from a coach's perspective, whether or not that person actually realizes that they need that as a priority or not. So more of an approach of longevity, health, pain-free function first, and then CrossFit second. A lot of people going through a CrossFit season, if the Open's your priority, those 5 weeks, do as best as you can, and then your season ends there.
For most
right?
people,
For most people, it doesn't continue on to regionals and the games. So creating a year's plan that will allow you to train consistently all year long, not needing a month off here going backwards, right? Causing you to plateau in fitness in general and maybe completely losing your interest. We can keep you healthy through your off season, which is now till probably early fall, right? Keep you moving, keep you strong, set a foundation to build the rest of the season up to the Open, and then crush it, right? If we're injured going into the Open, or we haven't developed our strength, we haven't developed our movement, we haven't developed our skills, then the Open is very daunting, right? But if we go into the Open and it's like, oh man, this offseason, I just crushed it, right? I can do ring muscle-ups now, couldn't do them last year. I can do double unders now, couldn't do them last year. My squat went up 50 pounds. Like, you're going into the Open feeling like a superhero compared to your knee was blown out or whatever the case is, right? It doesn't matter what the cause was, but you're missing training, all of a sudden the Open looks scary, right? So for a master's athlete, for every athlete, but especially for a master's athlete approaching the later age groups, You want a program that's going to be built for you and then also scaled for you too, right? Like we know that a lot of the skill movements in the open are scaled as we get older, and a lot of the weights are scaled as we get older. So we have to pick appropriate movements in your training that's going to carry over to the most success during the open.
Bingo. CJ and Jesse, how often have you seen people just crushing Metcons every single day? They go in and they just grind 20-minute Metcons. Like a lot of CrossFit gyms, they just program, what looks good on the whiteboard and what's going to make people say, wow, that's a great workout, right? But are they focusing on the cycle of the season, like the seasonality of CrossFit? How would you, CJ, and we can turn it over to Jesse afterwards, how would you approach, let's say, a master-specific athlete who like is during the summer, it's their off season and they're gearing up to get their best score possible because they want to finally break into that top 200 so that they can qualify for the Masters qualifier. Like what should their season look like? Should they be crushing 20-minute, 15-minute grinder Metcons every single day, or should they be looking at it a little bit more strategically?
When our goal moves away from general fitness, it is no longer just exercising and working out like CrossFit teaches us, right? Just constantly varied. That goes out the window because that's not how we train. Training changes from just fitness activities. It's completely different. So the off season has to look like purely with controlled strength or controlled power-based movements, meaning squat, deadlift, and then basic conditioning that doesn't include high-level gymnastics. And when we can do that, it goes against a lot of what CrossFit truly does teach in the sense of like how we should program this constantly varied. Okay, and the off season is to build and to be healthy. So we want to get strong, we want to stay healthy. And unfortunately, high-level gymnastics over long periods of time, there's not a lot of research out there yet, but I just can't see it being something we can do year-round all the time, especially for a master's athlete.
So hypothetically, let's say someone really struggles with double unders, a program, not to mention any, but let's say just an online master's specific program, maybe they only program double unders like once every 2 weeks. Is that going to make them better at double unders? How would you approach someone who has like one or two specific deficiencies or things that they can't even RX really well yet?
With the RX movements, we have to define if that person needs them or not, right? Yeah. If their goal is to be competitive in CrossFit, then the answer is going to be yes, they need it. But if it's something that they've been told that they should probably do, then it's like, is that actually what you want to do? Yep. Yes or no? If the answer is yes, or if they want to be competitive, the answer has to be yes. Then we have to set up their week and their year, and then all the pieces in between, right? The months, the cycles, everything. Making those movements a priority. So even in a day, if their goal is to master a skill, like muscle ups, we can't have them doing their muscle up drills after the rest of their training. In most cases, they're going to be so juiced by the end of their training that they're like either kind of trying or they can't. They're just so tired that their arms are gone, and that would be just a poor setup, right? That would be a poor setup on whoever's programming for them. So making those days priority, as in like after even a rest day, so that the body's fresh. Yep. So if they're resting on Sunday and Thursday, we can put that stuff very first on Monday and on Friday, so that they're hitting that. That's kind of how people are going to get through plateaus too, which I think is one reason why people would turn to individualized programming, is if they're working on a skill, maybe they've just never gone through a proper strength progression before, right? Like that's oftentimes is the case, right? I just ask like, well, what's your back squat program look like right now? Like, when it comes up, I back squat, right? Oh, how do you progress it? I forget. I don't write it down, right? It's like there's no flow to that for them, and that's not on the athlete, right? That's something that has to be taken care of for them. Yep. Right. So I think priority is number one.
We've talked about a lot of really, really good things here. And just as a recap, if you're injured and you're having trouble working around injury, having a professional program for you to help you work around the injury but stay in the gym and rehab, that's one potential reason you need individualized programming. Number two, if you are a master's athlete that's maybe on the bubble, like you want to take it to a very competitive level, but the programming you're following isn't specifically built for a master's athlete, you're probably going to be hitting the wrong weights, the wrong progressions. Like for instance, a master's athlete, off the top of my head, might not need to do a handstand walk in the open. Did the upper level master's athletes need to do that? It was some sort of other thing. You need to have a program that's built for your level, whatever age you are, and making sure that you're hitting the right weights and the right skilled movements for that program. And then number three is if you're hitting a plateau. So if you're someone who has been stuck at the same skill level on double unders, or stuck at the same level of muscle ups, or stuck at the same back squat or snatch, or really anything. If you've hit a plateau and you just can't break through it, and you answer just like Jesse said, like, I don't know, I just kind of work on it when it comes up, chances are you're never going to improve, and you could definitely use some individualized programming. Now, to play devil's advocate here, I'm gonna wrap things up with why you don't need individualized programming. You don't need individualized programming if you are just doing CrossFit for general fun, right? If you're a healthy individual, you're not injured, and you're just trying to have fun with your friends at the gym and develop a healthy habit, then simply following your gym's programming could be a great option, as long as you have some decent coaches. Another thing, you don't need individualized programming, probably, if you're just starting off. If you are very much a beginner, the coaches at your gym who can work with you one-on-one and help you learn how to do a proper air squat and help you learn how to press the bar overhead. But if you fall into those previous categories and you really want to take to the next level, then individualized programming can be for you. So in the comments below this video, this is obviously different than most of the videos we've made in the past. In the comments, I want you to let me know what you think. Are you someone who follows an individualized programming? Let us know what you follow. Also, if you are someone, after watching this video and hearing CJ and Jesse talk, if you're someone who says, hey, that is totally me, I need to step up my game, I'm ready for individualized programming, please send me an email at support@wodprep.com. And if you do, I will talk back and forth with you, and we might even hop on a group coaching call to see if you're a good fit for individualized programming that these guys might offer. Peace.